Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Corey, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. So, reframing rejection is probably one of the most important things that you can do in order to change your sexless relationship. And one of the things that I've heard, in fact, a quote I heard recently is that sailors or great sailors are made through storms. So, when you have something that is going against you, you learn the most. Now, most people don't use rejection as an opportunity to learn. Most people view that as this, the end of this interaction, and therefore they look at themselves and really blame themselves for not being able to do it. And I think to some extent you have to do that in order to start figuring out where to go. But at the same time, if you view it as failure as the end of the interaction, usually it's a very bad frame of mind to look at it. The frame of mind you have to be looking at it from is, okay, what can I learn from this rejection? And generally, it's harder to learn if you don't understand the actual process of the whole seduction process. Because when you think about seduction, like, what does that really mean? For most people, it's really just touching up a woman before sex. Sometimes it's just kissing. People think it's just kissing and fondling and whatever your frame of mind. When it comes to seduction, it's a very it's a lot of people do not understand it. In fact, I remember one time I was speaking to a guy and he was saying, "Why do you continuously say seduction? Like, it doesn't sound right. It's not the right word. I think you should be saying a different word." And I understand what he meant, because in his frame of mind, when he thought about seduction, he thought it was just this touching up the woman before you actually have sex, whereas it's a little bit more than that. There's the actual process when it comes to it, and we define this process, especially a few episodes, I think a few hundred episodes ago is the last time I probably talked about this, where that there's the actual process with it, that there's interest, desire, and then arousal. So when you look at it that way, it changes how you approach it. That, there's almost like this step-by-step process that you have to take. And what's good about looking at it from this frame of mind is that you are getting micro commitments from her, and when you do get those micro commitments, the level of comfort is pretty high. Because when you move from just no sex to wanting to have sex in a short period of time without going through this process, you are asking too much too soon, which then raises up the discomfort in her, and then therefore she doesn't want to go. And a lot of you guys, the issue within your relationship isn't the fact that she doesn't want to have sex. It's just that you do not have a real process of how to get into arousal. So again, you have to generate interest, and then you have to then move it towards desire. And then when she's now feeling desire, then you move into arousal. So when you see it from that perspective, and again, what that looks like in terms of generating interest, generally is that the bits that I've talked about before: being playful, being funny, being adventurous. So we do that. Like, for example, in my relationship, we do quite a lot of that. We do consistently playful, and that's the interest side of things. That our interactions, we keep it quite sexual. We're playful sexually. So when I say playful, I mean physically playful. So we do certain things that are playful, that keep sex top of mind, but it's on an interest level. When that starts fading away, it starts signaling that maybe there's something wrong in terms of the interest level. So the sexual interest, in order to raise that, again, it doesn't even have to be sexual. It could be just the sense that you are doing something that is fun, playing card games, doing all of those things create a level of being playful that is very, very good. So we joke about stuff. We tend to do stuff. I mean, this is for my relationship. I know it's different for everybody's relationship. And again, this is a very important piece. I like to keep it a little bit sexual, because then we see where we are sexually. But obviously, some of you guys, there's been some damage that has happened in terms of trust sexually. So maybe being playful sexually is probably not the right move at this moment of time. But it's something that you can gradually start building up to. And when I say playful, most couples take themselves so seriously that it becomes very important to be, whether again, without me actually getting to know you, I couldn't tell you exactly what you need to do. So some guys, we've told them to go to improv class. Some guys, we've told them to go to dance classes. Some guys, we've told them to do stuff that is out of their comfort zone. In fact, I spoke to somebody recently. I told them we're talking about them going to a cocktail class. So you do something together that is fun, that is interesting, and that is one thing that's going to start getting interest around your relationship. And when it comes to just the interactions, it really takes off a lot of pressure when it comes to approaching sex. When you can start generating a little bit more interest, because again, especially when you're doing dancing and so on, it incorporates you having to touch, you having to have proximity, you having to interact in ways that you can now introduce a little bit of that sexual touch, where at least you're going to be creating a little bit of desire. So again, it gives you that opportunity to, well done, babe, and then you give a cuddle, making eye contact as you communicate, doing some of those things where you can kiss her on the cheek, where you're just building a little bit of desire. And again, you can gradually do this. And when you do this, or in fact, follow this process, and this process is ongoing. And a lot of it now, especially the last few weeks where we've been talking a lot about comfort, this is how you can do a lot of these things and maintain a level of comfort. In fact, you can actually increase a level of comfort around sex when you follow a process where you're not fully going straight into arousal or seduction. Going to arousal, you're going, trying to generate interest, trying to generate some desire, and then moving on to actual arousal itself. And again, this becomes a really easy way for her to move into to a place of seduction, and it makes it easier for her to move into a place where she's sexually comfortable to move forward with you. So it's a very important distinction to how most people approach. And when you now start viewing rejection, which is main purpose of this episode, is that you start looking at it from this perspective, like, okay, where am I within this interaction? When was I in interest? So I've tried to move to get interested in the interacting, or at least being playful and being fun. She's not interested. Why is she not interested in me? Or why is she not comfortable? It then gives you that question of, how do I improve in getting interest from her? What can I do to get better interest from her? So when you start looking at it from that perspective, it makes it so much easier that once you resolve the interest side of things, it gives you the opportunity now to move into desire. If she's not fully in desire, then you figure out what are those things that are going to be the things that are going to help her to feel desire. When you do that, again, you can see that you're actually learning what's the path for you guys to have frequency of sex, because you're going through this process in a way that you're actually learning. So when you are rejected, you're not seeing it as though it's the end of the interaction. You'll be like, okay, that's good feedback on what I shouldn't do. So what if I tried something else and I did it this way? And where am I within this interaction? If it's now your arousal, then you're pretty close. If you are still at interest, you're still, again, trying to figure things out, which is all okay. And when you see it from that perspective, okay, this is not the end of this interaction. It's just good feedback in order for me to get better. It changes so much how you approach things and makes it even more believable in terms of what you're trying to achieve to your partner. Because a lot of you guys, you get rejected, you implode, and then she doesn't trust you going forward, because all of a sudden you're falling apart every time you seduce. So she doesn't think you're pretty serious, because you sort of, when you implode, there's this sort of I've messed up. So you go away, and then you're not really consistent. Whereas with this, you can now be consistent, because you're actually actively trying to fix the relationship. And it's not fixing the relationship by whipping your dick out. It's more about really trying to get the interaction side of things and getting to her to actually feel desire, getting her to feel motivated to having sex with you in a more natural way, rather than having to put some sort of social pressure on her. So hopefully this has been something that you wanted to hear. If you want to learn more around this, so we can give you a seduction blueprint for your relationship, go to thriving_tribesman on Instagram, and we'll be able to take you through what that might look like for your relationship. It's not a sales call, it's just an opportunity for us to give you something so you can see how the reignited man process works. And if it's a good fit, then we'll give you an opportunity to join us. Again, it's an application, so not everybody is going to be going into the Reignited Men. You have to qualify to get into Reignited Men. So thank you very much. I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.